In light of all the happy heart art we've been seeing in people's windows and on sidewalks, I want to do a watercolor project today inspired by that movement. The first thing you're going to want to do is draw a face using a permanent liner pen. A black fine point Sharpie would work fine. You're going to start by drawing the base of the face, and it's really going to be a U shape that just comes to a little bit of a point at the bottom where the chin is. I chose to do mine at a diagonal, but you can do yours straight up and down, however you want. Then I'm adding 2 curved lines down each side, just really basic shapes to form the base of the neck and part of the shoulders. Next, what I'm going to do is make some little small rounded shapes for the ears coming down the side, kind of near the top of that U shape we made. Next, starting lining up with the top of the ears, we're going to make 2 side-by-side almond shapes. Mine are going across my paper at a diagonal to follow the tilt of my head shape. You just want them to be straight across, lining up with the top of the ears. Then I'm making curved lines starting going across the top of our almond shapes and then straight down to form the boundary for the nose. And all I did then is add 3 little rounded curves, real simple, at the bottom of those lines to indicate the base of the nose. We're using really simple shapes for this. I'm adding 2 circles in the center of my almond shapes, again just basic shapes, as well as another smaller circle for the reflection. And then I'm adding another boundary line on top of my almond shape for the eyelid. Then the last thing is to add some lips just right below the nose, centered with the point in the chin. And I'm just making the top lip shape with a little indent in the center, and then just a rounded bowl shape for the bottom of the lip, and I put a little small half circle rainbow shaped line underneath the lips to indicate the chin. Then I'm adding 2 straight lines that curve towards the center and a little light line going up the neck to show the clavicles and some dimension in the neck. Next, I'm adding my background color. I put a lot of water in my light blue paint, and I'm just using a round brush and moving in circular motions to fill in a textured background. I'm doing mine so it kind of looks like a sky with some clouds. You can do your background however you want. You just want to keep it light because we're going to be overlapping some other colors over it once it dries coming out of the hair. Then you want to give that a moment to set and dry, and then we're going to fill in our skin color. Again, I'm using a round brush and just adding a good amount of water to my paint and just filling it in a solid color to start with. So I chose a bright sienna brown, and I'm just going ahead and brushing this color all along the entire inside of the face, just leaving the eyes white. So you don't want to fill in the eyes, but you can go ahead and fill everything else in just a solid flat wash. Next, you're going to give that a chance to dry before we move on to the next step. You can always use a blow dryer to hurry it along. Now we're going to add our hearts coming out of the head, like a really whimsical hair just flying out in every direction. And I'm starting with red. You can use any colors you want, and I'm just spacing out some different size hearts, just a really basic shape, starting with the curve on one side and then finishing it on the other side. And I'm just using the tip of my brush so that it's easier to control and so I can get that shape that I want fairly easily. So you're just using the very tip of your brush, outlining first and then filling it in. And if you add more water to your paint, you'll end up with more pastel colored hearts. And if you just add a little bit of water, your colors will come out a lot bolder. And I'm not letting it dry in between. I'm going ahead and letting the colors bleed into each other because that's the effect I want from this. If you don't like the colors running together and want to have them separate, then in between each color you would just allow for drying time. And you just want to keep going with your hearts in all different colors and sizes until you have your hair filled in as much as you would like. Later on, we're going to be using watercolor markers. I'm using Tombow brush markers, but if you just have Crayola washable kids markers at home, that works fine too, just for practicing and playing around. Now I'm using a different size round brush. I'm using a little bit smaller detail round brush just to add some little tendrils coming out of the hair, just for fun. I put a little curly Q in the center of her forehead, and I'm adding some wispy little strands coming down. This is where you can really be creative and make it your own. You can really do this however you'd like. Now I'm going ahead with my markers, and I chose a light brown just to outline the sides and bottom of the nose, and I'm also outlining along the eyebrows and the top of the eyelid. This is going to just give us some shadow. I'm also outlining the little notch we made for the chin, as well as the clavicles, the neck, and underneath our chin where there'd be a little bit of shadow, just adding some simple shadows. And now I grabbed some orange and I'm going along most of those brown lines and also adding a little bit of shadow with this lighter color underneath the eyes. Now you can take your round brush and get some water on it, tap off any extra liquid on your paper towel. You don't want it to be really wet and saturated where it washes the ink everywhere. And you're just going to run along that ink just to blend it out a little bit. And you'll see how adding that lighter color along with the brown just makes a better transition and adds a little bit of brightness. I'm also going ahead now and outlining a little bit of shadow with the orange along the sides of the face and underneath the boundary for the hair, and also along the upper parts of the neck. Now I'm outlining the lines that make up my lips with a bright pink, and just going along with a small round brush, I just put a little bit of water in the center there and let that ink bleed into the middle so it remains darker on the edges and lighter towards the center to add a reflection on the lips. Now on the eyelids, I just added some bright blue for fun, and I'm just brushing over that with water again to blend it with everything else. Also adding some bright blue along the bottom of the eyes. Kind of giving our girls some makeup right now. And then same thing, just lightly brushing along that blue so that it makes a transition into our skin color that we have and just softens those edges. Now you can pick a color to shade in your eyes. I'm just putting a little bit of brown along the top where it would naturally be darker under the eyelid, and a little bit of bright green along the bottom. You can use whatever colors you want. And then I'm just adding a little bit of orange into the corner of the eyes. And then again, using a brush to smooth and blend this out. I'm taking some pink and just adding a little more definition. I'm going over my little strands of hair with the pink marker, and I'm also going to trace around some of the hearts. I'm just using the very tip of my brush for really thin, light lines. And I'm doing the same thing while I outline my hearts, just real wispy, just using a tip of my brush. I'm adding some tendrils of hair coming out of the cluster of hearts. And then I'm also going to add some outlines to a couple of the hearts here and there, again, just to add some definition. And now we're going to take a damp brush again and just go over these lines to blend them out so they have more of a watercolory look to go with the rest of our image that we're creating. I chose to use some of the background color now to add some more outlines of hearts kind of flying out. You can really make this your own, adding whatever colors and patterns you want. You can get creative with this. You don't have to do it exactly like I did it. It's a really fun project to just take and run with and make your own as something relaxing and fun to do. And now I'm just taking my black permanent pen again and adding a little slight moon shape along that reflection for the center of the eye. And there you have it. I hope you guys have fun trying this out. Thank you.